Today's topic, solving systems of equations algebraically using the elimination method. Our first example is one we saw in the last video. So if you happen to have that work there, you already know the answer, but we can pretend you don't. So what we're going to do in this method, and I'll have some notes for you and another slide or two, but I'm just going to explain it verbally and go through some examples first. What you're going to do is think of a number that you can multiply one of the equations by, either this equation or that one, so that when you add the equations, you get one of the variables to cancel out. So it's as if we would be adding these things up. But if we add them right now, it's negative 2x, that doesn't cancel. It's 7y, and that doesn't cancel, and we want one of those to cancel. So I have two options. I could multiply one of these by positive 3. So multiply by 3, that's an option. What that would do is it give me a 3x here, it give me a 24y, it give me a 30. And then when I add a negative 3x and a positive 3x, they would cancel. So that's one option. Another option is that we could multiply the top equation by a positive 8. And what that would do is it would make a negative 8y and a positive 8y. When I add them, that would be 0y. Now, both of them are okay choices. I'll go ahead with this one since it's the last one I wrote, and I'll write my result right here, and then I can just add those together. So it's going to be negative 24x minus 8y equals negative 8 times 0 is 0, 8 times 3 is 24, negative 240. Then I add. Negative 24x plus x is negative 23x. This is 0y. You can just put a slash through it if you want, or put plus 0y. Now 0y you realize is 0, so I'd be adding 0. Then this becomes negative 230. Divide both sides by negative 23. And I get x equals positive 10. Take that x equals 10. I'm going to put a little bubble around it. It's not my complete answer, it's just part of it. And I am going to plug it into one of the equations. I'll plug it in right there. So I have 10 plus 8y equals 10. Subtract 10 from both sides, and I get 8y equals 0. Divide by 8, and we get y equals 0, because 0 divided by 8 is 0. So that is my second part of my answer. So I have x equals 10 and y equals 0 as an answer. Remember, if we were solving by graphing, that would be a point of intersection. So I can represent my answer as a point. So let's see, we're going to check this to finish it off. We've already gotten our last answer by plugging into here. See, our arrow went here. So we kind of already did check this equation. So if we check the last equation and we find that, we get a true statement, that's good enough. So I put in 10 for x here, and it's negative 30, and then minus 0. Is that equal to negative 30? And the answer is yes. So finally, I know I have my answer, 10, 0. Okay, another example. Let's see. I've got the lower coefficients on the bottom equation, meaning that 3 is has an absolute value less than the 10, and the y has a coefficient of 1. All right, so a couple of options. I could multiply this equation by, let's see, a negative 8. And if I do that, I would get a negative 8y, and then these would cancel. So that's one option. What would happen with the x's? Now, the x's are called relatively prime because 10, it doesn't have a factor of 3 in it. 3 doesn't have a factor of 10 in it. So I would have to multiply this by a 3 and that by a negative 10. Okay, not a good choice. So my first choice is the one I'm going to go with. So multiply the bottom equation by a negative 8. And I will get negative 24x minus 8y equals, okay, negative times a positive is negative, 8 times 5 is 40, carry the 4. 8 times 1 is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, let me get rid of this. So now I add the columns and I get negative 34x equals negative 136. Okay, we're going to divide by negative 34, so x is equal to a negative divided by a negative is a positive, so I'm just going to get rid of those right now. Now let's see how many times that goes. It probably goes evenly. Actually, you know what, I'm just going to guess 4 times and see if that comes out. 4 times 4 is 16, 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1 is 13. So yeah, x equals 4. Kind of sloppy. X equals 4. Only 1/2 of the answer. Take that, plug it in somewhere. All right, now I'm going to erase some more. My original equation might be one that I want to plug into, and it disappeared on me. So I'm going to take that x equals 4. I'm going to plug it in right there and see what I get. When I get 12 plus y equals 15. Subtract 12 from both sides, and I get y equals 3. All right, now we've already checked this equation. Let's plug everything into the top equation. Negative 40, I'm going to plug in 4 for x, plus 24, is that equal to negative 16? The answer is yes. So I've got my answer, the 0.43. All right, one more, and then we're going to cover these rules. This one might be the easiest one yet because we've got a couple of options, and they're both pretty easy. All right, so 2 things to pick from, and think about which one you would actually pick. If I multiply the bottom equation by 3, I would get a negative 3, a positive 3x here, and those would cancel out. So that's one option. Another option is I could multiply the top equation by a negative 2, and it would give me a negative 2y here, and those things would cancel out. So which one would you pick? Multiply the bottom equation by 3 or the top equation by negative 2? It doesn't really matter. So let's suppose we chose to multiply the bottom equation by a negative 3. I would get, positive 3. I would get a positive 3x, a 6y, and equals a negative 6. Now, instead of erasing, because I might want it back, I'm just going to scratch that out. Okay, then we are going to add the columns, so that's 0x, this is 7y, and this is negative 21. Divide by 7, and I get y equals negative 3. Notice this time I got y first because I had eliminated the x's. It doesn't matter which one you eliminate first. So find a nice place to plug it in. You know, I'm going to plug it in here. And I will get negative 3x minus 3 equals negative 15. Now all those are negative. I could just make them all positive by multiplying by a negative 1. Subtract 3 from both sides. Divide by 3, x equals 4. All right. I kind of already checked this equation because that's where I got my answer. I'm going to put it into the other original equation and make my last check and be done with this one. So plug in x equals 4 for x, I get 4. And then minus 6, is that equal to negative 2? And the answer is yes, so it checks out. And my answer is 4, negative 3. Okay, our steps to elimination. Line up the equations. You actually have not seen that step yet. It's coming. The next question. Step 2. Multiply one or more of the equations by a number so that when you add the equations together, one of the variables cancels. And then solve for the first variable. Plug that variable back into any one of the equations and solve for the second variable. And the last step is important if you want to get through these mastery checks or know that you're getting things right before you move on. Check your answer. Alright, so things we haven't seen yet, line up your equations, that's coming up. And the multiply one or more of the equations by a number. We have not seen a case where you have to do that. Here's one where you got to line things up. Now they're not in any particular form. This one in here is in standard linear form, but this equation, it's not in any form whatsoever. All right, so I could, in this equation, subtract 2y from both sides, so it becomes 10x minus 2y equals 22. So let's pretend that's not there now. And now I actually don't have to perform step 2 if you haven't written it down, which you should have by now. Let's just take a look at it. Line up your equations, multiply one or more equations by a number. We don't actually have to do that because, wrong direction. We don't have to do that because the y's will already cancel. So I'm just going to start adding 11x plus 0y. That's really messy. 11x plus 0y equals 33. Divide by 11 and I get x equals 3. Now the next step, take that answer, plug it into either of those equations, even though this one that was crossed out. And see, I'll plug it right there, and I get 3 plus 2y equals 11. Subtract 3 from both sides, and I get 2y equals 9. Nope, sorry, 8. And then divide by 2, so I get y equals 4. The answers are looking an awful lot alike on these. That's just a bit of a coincidence. So now we are going to plug into this equation and check our answer. So x equals 3, so that's going to be 30. Equals, y is equal to 4, so that's 8 plus 22. Is that true? Yes, it is. So my answer is 4, 3. Checks out. All right, last one, and it's the most challenging. Let me back up here and show you what's different. It's the or more part. We have seen some fairly easy examples. They're not always easy. The 4 and the 5, the coefficients of the x, they're relatively prime. What number would you multiply 4 by to get 5? Well, 5/4, of course. What would you multiply 5 by to get 7? These are going to be fractions. And most students don't like fractions so much, so they are going to avoid them. So what we're going to do here is we are going to multiply this equation by a, let's multiply this one by a -5. Why negative? Well, I actually want opposite coefficients for my x's so that they'll cancel out. I want to add, not subtract. Students don't make mistakes when they add nearly as often as when they subtract. This one I'm going to multiply by a +4. So I'm going to get, for the top equation, 20x minus 25y equals -5. And for the bottom equation, -20x plus 28y is equal to 20. The x's cancel out. I get 3y equals, and that's going to be +15. So I'm getting y equals 5. All right. Good bit of work has been done so far. I'm going to take this 5, I'm going to plug it in, say, right there. And I'm going to get -4x plus 25 equals 1. Subtract 25 from both sides. I get -4x equals -24. Divide both sides by -4, and I get x equals 6. All right. We're going to plug into here as our final check, and that will end our lesson. So I'm going to get -30. When I plug the 6 in there, I'm going to get +35. Is that equal to 5? And the answer is yes. So my final answer is x is 6, y is 5. Time to go do some practice problems.